Hey, how are you? I'm Kylan from Lure of the North, and this video is going to talk about the basics of sewing with leather and our leather needles. So when you purchase a kit from us, you'll receive two very sharp Glover's needles, and these needles are very special because they're not just your typical sewing needle, they have 3 blades on the tip of their needle. You'll receive 2 of those in your kit, and you have to be very, very careful because that will puncture you and cause bleeding, and that's why in our workshops we do not share needles, so you can practice that at home as well. Your kit will also come with a bundle of artificial sinew, and this sinew is a nylon thread that's waxed, and it splits apart into 4 strands. And when we're sewing for our projects, we're going to split it into 2. So we're going to, of these 4 strands, you can see, and they should break off nicely. If they're not breaking nicely, then you're grabbing the wrong strand. So for our projects, we're going to use 2 of the 4 strands. So you should be able to just pull those apart. Okay, so now I have 2 chunks. You can set one aside. And this artificial sinew is supposed to emulate real sinew, which was used for the sewing projects traditionally, and that was typically used the backbone of an animal, and then that ligaments and tendons were pounded, dried, and separated into very much similar like this nylon sinew. So we're going to start by making a thimble to protect our little Peter pointers, and you're going to cut a piece of your hide from your kit that is long enough to fold over top of your finger. Typically people use the index finger, but you could make one for your middle finger, or sometimes people even make them for your thumb. Let's start with our index finger, and then once you get the hang of it, you can make more, and you can decorate your whole 10 fingers and have a little puppet show. So what we're going to do is fold the piece of hide over your finger, and you're going to put the fuzzy side, or it's also called the flesh side, or some people call it the suede side, so that it's touching your finger. And the reason we do that is because it gives it a little bit more grip. If you were to put the smooth side, or hair side, or grain side we call it, on the inside, then your thimble is more likely to slip off. So flesh side in. And just like our moccasin, we're going to size in 1 dimension first, and then we'll customize for our finger. So as long as it goes over top of your first knuckle, you're good to go, and you have at least 1 straight side. So we're going to fold it hamburger style, not hot dog style, so that we have our stitching. Our stitching is going to go on either side of the thimble. So we're going to grab 2 of our 4 strands of sinew and thread our needle. I'm going to show you my knot. I'm going to do it really fast at first, just to show you that it's worth learning. That wasn't very fast. Ow. Let me show you again. I panicked. There we go. Okay, so now I have a knot at the end of my thread, actually 2 knots. I'm going to trim that off, and I'm going to show it to you slowly so that you can get it. And after you do it a couple times, you'll know that it's fast and it'll be worth it. Okay, so I've got a short end to my thread and a long end. I'm going to grab my long end and bring it over top of my needle like a cross, and then I'm going to pinch it. Okay, so I've got a little tail I'm pinching, And then I've got this loop. I'm going to take this upper strand and start wrapping towards the tip of the needle 5 or 6 times. I'm going to bunch all of those up. I'm going to pinch it all together, including that initial T, nice and tight, and I'm going to slide it off the eye of the needle. Okay, and I'm going to keep pinching that whole bunch of twists till I get to the very end. And voila, we have a little knot. Yay! I've put my needle in just on the edge of the hide, and I've pulled it through one layer, and that's going to hide my knot. So I'm going to then fold my hide over top of my knot, and I'm going to go down through 2 layers. And I want my loop to go over the edge of my hide. Okay, and now I've got my first whip stitch done, and the whip stitch is always going around and down through 2 layers. So I've done a couple stitches here, and there's a couple things that we want to pay attention to. One is the stitch depth away from the edge of the hide, and you want that to be about 1/8 of an inch. And then we're also going to be focused on our stitch width between each other, and again that's going to be about 1/8 of an inch. And then our stitch tension is the third thing we're going to be focused on. And if you can see here, the hide has puckered a little bit, and that's how tight you want to pull. You don't have to worry about this thread breaking or coming off the edge as long as your stitch depth is deep enough. If you go too close to the edge, then when you pull tight it might just tear right out. So our stitch depth, width, and tension should all be things that we're focused on while we're going. Okay, so now I've gone all the way up to the top fold of my thimble, and now to finish off our stitch we're going to go through the same spot 3 times. So once, twice, and we're going to go 3 times, and before we pull that 3rd time all the way tight, we're going to leave this little loop, and we're going to go through it with our needle twice. Once, twice, and then you're going to slowly pull tight, and you can use your fingers to help that knot go right to the bottom. Okay, and that locks it off. So now I can trim it off, and you're going to leave just a tiny little tip with your sinew. Okay, so we have one side of our thimble done. Now we need to measure it and customize the fit. So I put it over my index finger, and you can stretch it a little bit and then pinch where you want that stitching to go. So you don't want to pinch too tight, because when you cut it, you need a seam allowance. So just pinch it loosely, make a mark where they meet with your pen. Okay, and that's where I'm going to trim off. Once you've trimmed it off, just take a pinch and see if it's going to fit. Okay, the hide will stretch a little bit, so if it feels tight at first, that's okay. In fact, we want it to feel a little bit tight so that when it does stretch, it'll end up being the perfect fit. Okay, so now I'm going to be hiding my knot on the other side. So I'm going to fold back the one corner, put my needle in, again about 1/8 of an inch in. Got my knot hidden, fold the hide back over, and now I'm going up and around and down through 2 layers of hide. Sorry, I keep dropping the thimble down from the camera. Okay, pull it nice and tight. We're always going around and down. Remember, keep that loop away from your needle so that you're not doing a blanket stitch. Okay, and then to finish it off, that was once, twice, 3 times, loop, de-loop, pull tight, trim it off, and now you have cute little thimble. And if you have a little leather burner, then you can draw a little face on it and start your very own puppet show. So thanks for watching. That was our basic sewing skills. Now we have a little thimble for our sewing projects, and this is called the whip stitch, and you're going to be using the whip stitch for your whole moccasin project with a few modifications. So if you can get down this little whip stitch, then you're ready to make your own moccasins. So enjoy the rest of the videos, and I hope this was a helpful start to your sewing projects.